Welcome back to Bespoke Addict. I've got something, these are very, very special, and these are going to be being sold on eBay UK at no reserve. Those of you that know about this skin will recognise it immediately. This is the 1786 Russian Reindeer. This is the skin that was sort of, it's been salvaged from a shipwreck, the Metta Catharina, which sank in 1786, and the skins were salvaged in about 1973. Remarkable skin. It's a lot of people think it's a myth, but it's actually true. It wasn't the shoes; it was the skins that had been underwater in huge, big sort of oil skins, and there were literally dozens and dozens of skins. The skins were purchased by George Cleverly, and it was actually off the coast of Cornwall that this ship it sank in a storm, and most of the, in fact, all of the crew, they managed to swim ashore, no loss of life. But the craft itself, the Metta Catharina, went to the bottom of the sea, and it was discovered in 1973, nearly 200 years later, by divers. And in the location of the ship, it was in the Duchy of Cornwall territory. And that was Prince Charles at the time. He was the Prince of Wales. That was his sort of territory. He's now the King, King Charles. And with his permission, they salvaged the skins, and George Cleverly purchased the skins. And part of the deal was that Prince Charles at the time would have the very first pair of shoes made by George in this particular skin. And that's what happened in about 1974. He's still got the shoes and he still wears them today. They're very, very similar to these, and they're just a little bit more aged, obviously, because they are 50 years old. And he was actually photographed by standing with Lionel Richie on a tour of the Caribbean. This was about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was wearing no shoes, standing next to Lionel Richie, and they're the first ever pair made in this skin. As I said to you, these are going to be for sale. They're going on eBay UK. Just pop the trees out. These are Bespoke Foster and Son trees. Oof, they fit quite well, but I'm afraid they're not coming with the shoes. These are off another pair of my Bespoke Foster and Son. Just pulled it out. Quite a tight fit. There we go. Just pop this on the car there. The car won't mind. It's my car. Nobody's going to complain. That's Beelzebub the Jag. Yeah, these were made to order by New and Lingwood. They're a UK 10.5E. But they were made to order around about 2007 or 8. In fact, they weren't made for myself. They were made for a friend of mine, Martin, and he's since put on weight, and his feet have swollen up a bit, and he can't wear his bespoke or made to order shoes, which is an awful shame. And I've acquired his complete collection. They don't fit him anymore. But I've been sort of wrestling with the idea for about 4 or 5 years of selling these. I didn't want to sell them because the skins are so special. But ultimately, there's two things. I'm a 9.5 UK. These are a 10.5. They're too big. I have to wear them with an insole. And the other thing is, they're amazing shoes, but the styling is not entirely for me. If they had a more classical cap toe, and they were more formal, less casual, I'd be definitely keeping these. When I wear casual shoes, I tend to wear loafers. And I don't know, I just don't actually get around to wearing these. It's more about the styling the skin. But they've had some use. It was mostly been myself. My friend Martin wore them for a couple of hours once, but when I acquired them, they've barely been worn. I've probably worn them 8 or 10 times in, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. I've barely worn them, and I've not sort of worn them all day. I might wear them for a couple of hours to go somewhere, take a few photographs, come back. So, and that's how most of my shoes are. They don't really get that much wear. But it's just the most remarkable skin. It's kind of lumpy, and it's also got this, unique to the Russian skins, this hatching, little cross-grain hatching. That's all been done by hand by the Russian tanners in the 1770s or 1780s. Now, the lumpy texture, that's been done by being immersed in the water. Slightly smooth there. It must have been rubbed. So some of the skins are smooth, some of them are very lumpy. This one's a bit lumpier and a bit more scarred. There's quite a few sort of scars in this skin. But as I said, these were made to order by New and Lingwood. They had access to the skin. George cleverly took all of the skin and had control of it. Now, when that was from 73. Now, when George sold his own business, he just retired and sold his own business, and there was still skin left. And George retired, but he worked sort of as an employee, not a business owner, at New and Lingwood in Jermyn Street. And he obviously still had access to this amazing skin. And New and Lingwood purchased some of these skins, and they're huge. You know, they're literally sort of the size of a whole reindeer. They are enormous. So you know, if they had say 50 skins, that you make a lot of shoes out of that. And so yeah, whilst George was still alive, he died in 92. You know, from the late 70s, early 80s, right through till his death in I think 92, he continued working for New and Lingwood, and he was basically doing their bespoke orders, because New and Lingwood bought the maker. It's on here if you can read it. Poulsen Scone. They were an English bespoke maker, and they got into difficulties. And George had been consulting there in the late 70s, trying to help them turn it around, but it wasn't possible. So New and Lingwood bought the company, and they'd also bought J. Gain and Co. So they had access to all the tooling and the equipment. And but obviously, when George retired, it was obvious to sort of bring George in, and he was happy to have like a part-time job in his retirement. He didn't want to be sitting around, and he did that until his death. So that's how New and Lingwood had access to these skins. And I believe, in all probability, they were made by Crockett and Jones. Looking at the sole and heel, I'm pretty sure that's Crockett and Jones' work. And they put Poulsen Scone stamp on it for New and Lingwood. But utterly remarkable things. I don't really wear them, as remarkable as they are. I don't wear them. And it's a shame, you know, that such a remarkable, unique skin doesn't really get shown off as much as it should. And people that follow my accounts have begged me not to sell these, saying you'll regret it. And other people have sort of begged me to sell them. Obviously, those are the people that fancy owning themselves. So you'll get your chance. And they're about a UK 10.5, or that's what they're marked at anyway. I don't. It might be slightly bigger than that. I don't know. I don't really follow sort of standard sizing, because most of my shoes are bespoke and they're not sized. So, but yeah, they're going on eBay UK at no reserve. And I'll put the eBay listing number with this post. It's a shame that I've come to selling my shoes, but I've got so many. It's literally in the hundreds, and I can't look after them. I can't find anything. Can't store anything. There are even loads of shoes stored in the back of this car in the street. Yeah, this is my car, Beelzebub the Jag, and you know, they're in the boot, they're in the car, they're at work, they're scattered all over the house. I can never find, and trying to look after that many shoes is impossible. So I've come to my senses, and I'm selling a considerable number. And these, even though they are very, very special, and so many people have tried to beg me not to sell them, I'm definitely going to sell them. And you know, of course, I'm keeping a huge amount, but I'm keeping the ones that I wear more. These I'm keeping them because of the skin. They're too big for me, and it's not necessarily my styling. You know, so I wouldn't wear them with jeans, and I don't know, they're too sort of casual to wear with a suit. And I have worn them, of course I've worn them, but I don't know. I think they'll just be much more suited to somebody else, that this kind of styling is more their thing. You know, I think the Americans would call this an split toe apron fronted derby. Beautiful things. And it's genuine skin. It's not fake, it's not replica. It has come through the George Cleverly link, because there are replicas of this skin. You've got to be very, very careful. But the replicas tend to have the cross hatching, but it's quite smooth. What it doesn't have is all this lumpy, very, very lumpy, and with the scars and the marks that's been done by being submerged in water. It doesn't have that. They can't really replicate that. But this smoother bit here, you know, I'd imagine the skins are all rolled up, and that could have been in the tight roll, and then the more scarred bits that are on the outside where they suffer more friction. I don't know. But just be aware, if you are looking at this stuff, there is replica out there, and it's made and sold as replica with the cross hatching. And what it's generally called is Russian Reindeer, with this Russian style hatching. It's not necessarily reindeer skin. I think a lot of it's calf skin, but if it's 1786 Russian Reindeer, that's this, they're the lumpy, and with the cross hatching underneath the lumps here, it does have the cross hatching as well. So you've got to have your wits about you if you're buying this stuff, because there's a huge cost difference between the genuine skin and the replica skin, and it's definitely not made to deceive anybody. You know, the makers that are using that skin are making it to order for their clients because they either haven't got access to this skin or they can't afford the genuine skin. And the other thing is, you know, the newer skins are less fragile, they're easier to live with, the replica. So, but of course, when they find their way onto the second-hand market, the seller can mistakenly believe that the replica skin is genuine. So just be very, very careful. Actually, if I undo the laces, there's a particularly, ooh, you can see that's not had any rubbing or any polishing, any cleaning. If I can just get behind here, it's a lovely bit of skin. There we go. That's extremely textured and grained and lumpy and scarred. It's got everything. Yeah. But somebody will enjoy these far more than I've had a thrill out of owning them, but I've not really worn them to any degree. And truthfully, on a point of wearing them, I'm not going to miss them. But I am going to miss having such a spectacular and rare and unique skin in my collection. Yes, I'm going to miss that, but they never really see use on my feed. So let's do the sensible thing. eBay UK at no reserve.